World's a better place if you cooperate. Unless you're in real estate, because then it gets complicated. On today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Well, hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker, Residential Sales Manager of ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 193. No idea where 195 came from. I think it's because I'm splitting the difference between the 197 I said earlier today and the 193 it actually is. So, hey, we're working to the mean here. Okay, so how are you guys all doing? Today is Thursday. It is October I do believe the 17th. Yes, October the 17th, and we are rocking and rolling here. I'm all by myself. There is nobody here in the office, and just getting going here at the 2:30 mark because I had brunch with my aunt and uncle who were in town from Denver. Hi, guys. Maybe they'll be my new subscribers. Maybe they're having too much fun up in Sedona and will totally forget about me like everybody else in my life. I'm completely okay with that. But if you guys are watching this, thank you very much. The brunch was great. So what do we got going on? Not great numbers, depending on which side of the equation you were on. We will discuss that when we get to the numbers part. State level, not a lot on the real estate side so much. We're pretty much all hunkered down dealing with the elections at this point. And this is not an election channel, and so I will not be discussing election issues because, hey, there's 50 zillion other YouTube channels out there talking about every little data point. And I've lost way too much of my time over the last 2 weeks watching every one of these things. And to be honest with you, I'm sort of kicking myself for not starting doing that about 6 months ago, because Lord knows I have the skill set to discuss minutia and obsess over stupid things. But anyways, maybe 4 years from now we'll give that a shot. So let's talk about real estate because that's what you're all here for. Biggest thing that we got going on right now is as long as the interest rates, like we were saying last week, and it seems to be continuing on with the drop in the Fed rate, we expected more, and then we got great economy numbers or modified economy numbers, depending on which side of the aisle you want to discuss, and that sort of threw everything up into a cocked hat, and so the interest rates actually bounced back up. So what does this mean? Buyers are not getting the deals that they thought they were going to be getting, and some of them have walked away and said, hey, we're waiting for the big crash. I'm still expecting something like that to happen beginning of next year. In fact, we had our sales meeting this week, and that's good. And you see here, guys, start talking about the numbers, and I wanted to end with the numbers, but, never pass up a good segue. All right. Even though now that I just said that, that's not a segue at all. So let's take a look at what we got going on over here. Okay, these are the numbers for October 18th, 2024. Actives this week are 20,744. That is the biggest number on my spreadsheet that I started all the way back the weekend of St. Patrick's Day during the COVID crazy. All right, we have more inventory on the market than we've seen in quite some time, and we went up 585 from the previous week. All right, new listings were 2,257, up 6. Starting to slow up on the new listings coming on. Contracts are 1,995, down 63, and I swear to God, 1995 seems to pop up an awful lot. All right, the closings last week were at 1,210. You can't see it under my face, but coming soon to an MLS near you is 629 new listings. Looking at the Crawford report numbers on the bottoms, we have broke over to 81.3 on the supply column. That means where there should be 100 houses for sale based on our population and size of this MLS region. All right, we have 81.3 where we should have 100. We have 75.7 on demand. That means that we have 75 buyers for every 100 buyers we should be having, which gives us a Crawford report number of 93.1. Are we going to actually see our overall market go into a buyer's market? We got 3.1 points left. As I said last week and the week before that, we tend to peak in supply right about now. Last half of October, first half of November. So will this supply keep creeping up, or are we going to start crossing over? And then are those buyers going to come in January? That's the $64 question, people. Stay tuned to this channel and you will find out. Now, in our regional areas, breaking it down this way, and funny how this came up in lunch today, our buyers markets: Buckeye, Maricopa, Queen Creek, Goodyear, and Surprise. If you are looking for deals, that's where you're at. The bigger cities and stuff like that, where we're talking Peoria, Tempe, Cave Creek, Gilbert, all right, are all in our balanced market. Phoenix, Avondale, and Mesa are still technically in a seller's market, along with Paradise Valley, Glendale, Chandler, Scottsdale, and Fountain Hills. Went up a little bit. Got a green arrow there, even though it wasn't enough to actually make 1% change. Okay, but they're at 188.1. Now compare them to the next runner-up, Scottsdale, at 129.9 and Chandler at 129. They are, I don't know what they're doing out there on the seller side of the house, but wow, that is really, they're really leading by. If you were looking at this as a fantasy football roster and like you were trying to pick a city for your fantasy football team, all right, you can start talking tranches at this point. There's that first tranche, Fountain Hills, all right, get them or not, all right. If you can't get Fountain Hills on your first round, your next setup that you're looking at is going to be Scottsdale and Chandler, all right. That's your second tier, and then you start getting into your third tier at Glendale, Paradise Valley, Mesa, so on and so forth. So for those fantasy football types, all right, that's how you explain that out. But once again, Fountain Hills is rocking. Outer air, which is weird because whenever anybody says where are the deals at, I always say look to the outside of the city, all right, except for Fountain Hills, because that's, you know, luxury on the other side of a mountain range. I mean, what the hell? So, all right, so getting that out of the way. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I still do not know why I don't have my nice smooth screen. I even had to check to make sure I didn't have my Bitdefender or something running up in the background taking up resources, because I don't see anything out here anymore. All right, I really don't. I mean, there's no reason for anything to be taking all this up. So how about if we do something crazy? There. Let's see if that's... It is literally just you and me and the camera right now. I'm not running anything else in the background, and it does seem to be getting a little bit better. So, fourth wall break, yes. The technical issues of this job is getting harder and harder, even as I streamline it. Here's the big national news coming out. Now remember, the lawsuits and everything, you heard it here first. I realized in a couple of weeks ago that it was literally 3 years ago when I did that episode talking about buyer broker. Facebook reminded me of that because that was one of those videos that I actually did share to YouTube, so it came up in my memories, and or to Facebook, and it came up in my memories like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 3 years. Buyer broker agreements, right? Here's the new one coming down the pike. Now, the lawsuits and everything was caused by sellers who were upset that they perceived that they were paying the buyer's agent to work against their best interests. All right. This one, the clear cooperation, this is something NAR's been fumbling around with for quite a while. Department of Justice is getting involved in it. Now, hear me out. The Department of Justice, when it comes to real estate, changes depending on the administration. If this gets pushed out past January, whatever, depending on who's getting sworn into the office, then we will consider what's going on then. All right. I don't think this is going to get resolved between now and then. All right. So big. All right. This is a potential. This is not a probable. All right. But the problem is right now is called the clear cooperation agreement that every broker and sales agent needs to have with their local MLS because of National Association of Realtors rules that states I have 1 day from publicly marketing a property to put it on the MLS. All right. So I take the listing today. Right. If I publicly market it, and that means talking to the public about it. I don't know if that means talking to my wife about it. Would be really interesting, right? If I tell my wife I just took a listing, do I suddenly have a 24-hour countdown to get that thing on the MLS? Don't know. All right. But what happens is to market it, it has to be on the MLS within 24 hours of a public marketing. So there is some conversation about what is considered public marketing. Is that any conversation outside your brokerage? Right? Is that any conversation when that freaking wholesaler of the moment texts me, hey, do you have any listings coming on board? And say, yeah, I got one or so. All right, is that considered public marketing? But the reason why we have the public, this clear cooperation ruling through the MLSs and NARs is because of the situation where certain brokerages in certain markets were not advertising their properties at all because they didn't need to. Because they were such a large segment of the market, they did not need outside brokerage agents to find them buyers. And because they didn't need to put it out there for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come in there with a buyer, they could sell it in-house and make more money at the idea because they were double-ending the deal. The brokerages were, not necessarily the agents, right? So only after a certain time period of not being able to sell it in-house through your own in-house constellation of buyers, then you would put it out on the MLS. And there were some markets out there where 30% of the listings, this article right here that I got off Inmon today, all right, quotes as being up to 30% of the Silicon Valley market was all in-house, and it was in the hands of 2 brokerages. They had no problem, finding buyers. Buyers bought, sellers sold. Where's the problem? Well, the problem is that the sellers, allegedly, were not told that they weren't getting full exposure for their properties. They weren't being told that by putting it on the MLS, they would be able to be on Zillow, Homes.com, and other websites and have maximum exposure of their house. Do you see this reoccurring theme that we keep coming across in? A seller or a buyer was not told by their agent something. Right? This is a reoccurring theme that we're seeing on all these things. All right? You, Mr. Buyer, or you, Mr. Seller, we're talking to sellers now. You, Mr. Seller, right? I am not going to put your house on the MLS. I'm going to show it to my 20 investors. My 20 investors are going to send offers in. I will present those 20 offers to you, and you pick the one that you like best. Sound pretty fair? All right? Or I can put it on the MLS. It will be blown out to everybody who is currently looking for properties that might match yours. It will have maximum exposure. We can get many more offers, and you will be a lot closer to the current fair market value of your house because it is being exposed to the entire market, not my select few. So a lot of people out there going, well, hell, I want to be on the MLS. But the benefits of going with the investor side is we're not going to have open houses. You're not going to have strange people suddenly peeking through your windows, for no reason whatsoever. You're not going to have to clean up. It's going to be very in and out. Some people do see the benefit of that, right? But the thing is, it needs to be the decision of the seller, and the seller needs to have all the information available and be properly informed of the ramifications of their decision. And then the agent should follow what the seller tells them to. Remember, Thelma and Louise driving off the cliff clause, right? You're driving the car. I'm just in the passenger seat, all right, with the road map out directing you when to turn. And hey, over here, there's a gas station over here on the right, all right, what you need to know, but you're driving the car, all right? So, and this particular issue with this was, this is where it gets fun. The biggest complaint against the pocket listings, and this is what the in-house term that we use on these things is a pocket listing, a listing that's in my pocket, nobody knows about it but me. All right. The problem with these pocket listings is that the market in general, all the other agents, your competitors, do not know about the listing that you have. And the reason why Clear Cooperation Agreement came into play was to make it all fair. And it was actually driven a lot by Zillow, right? And some of these other organizations, right? They're very interested in getting rid of pocket listings because they want full access to every house in the market for sale. They're a data-driven company. You need accurate data, right? And having 30% of the market not being able to be tracked by you, right, can be a problem for your business model. The other thing is, if you're Zillow, I mean, literally you need those houses out there so people use your website, right? So that might be part of the reason why Department of Justice got involved in this. So NAR, when this all came up, their cure was going to be this clear cooperation. You have to put it on within 24 hours of you marketing it to the public. And then they came up with the coming soon listing. And it's that coming soon listing where your house is not on the market for showing, but hey, it is coming soon. So when I go and we're going through the numbers and I say coming soon to an MLS near you, that are people who wanted to start marketing but didn't want to show. They want to get that buzz going. They want people to know. And those agents need to follow the clear cooperation. Now, does that mean that the agent is desperately trying to sell that place on the back end, all right, in those 30 days before it actually hits the market? Probably not. All right. So what I've done with that thing is that if I have a client and we're under, we sign the listing, it's like it's going to take me 2 weeks to get this house ready to go. I'm like, all right, let's get this house ready to go. Next 2 weeks, I'm going to put it on coming soon. I have 30 days to keep it on the coming soon, and then I need to cancel it or go active. All right, but we can start doing it that way. That will generate buzz. That also, because it's on the coming soon side, lets me actually get to go and start talking to a couple of people about it. All right. I can contact iBuyers, OfferPad, Open Door, okay, and I can talk to them and I can blow it out to my investors side. We are going to be going on the market on this date. All right. Now, a lot of times what you see on that coming soon is you see property coming soon, then down in the private remarks and whatnot, I'd say, buyer reserves the right to you to accept an acceptable offer before active listing. I don't know who came up with that verbiage. I honestly think it either got taught in some CE class or some in-house attorney came up with that and they just started using it and then everybody else saw it and started using it too. All right. But that's the reason why we now have that coming soon. That's why now we have this. The reason for this potential lawsuit, all right, coming down from Department of Justice, is they are now saying that the clear cooperation agreement is forcing people to use the MLS if they normally wouldn't want to, right? Because they made the clear cooperation agreement a requirement for brokerages as a, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a requirement to have access to the MLS. You sign a piece of paper stating, I will abide by all the MLS's rules. They slip this one in. When you go to the MLS, they say, hey, we've just changed the nature of our agreement. Click here to agree. It's in the middle of that end user license agreement that's about 5 pages long. You don't have time because you're literally trying to answer a person's question on the phone. So you click OK and you keep going. Anyways, so with that new clear cooperation agreement in place, all right, now that they're looking at it going, hey, what happens if a seller doesn't want to? Why are you forcing the agent to put that on the MLS when the seller themselves do not want that exposure? I've given you reasons why a seller might not want that exposure. All right. Now, big brokerages would like to see clear cooperation go away because they have enough, you got a brokerage here with 1,500 agents. Right? You can't tell me with those 1,500 agents they don't have at least one or two who are going to meet the criteria that I have for my listing. All right. So, anyways, we're trying to figure out, and we're in the talking about phase of what's going to happen with all of this, and I'm really, really not sure. It's this is still in the infancy stage. We are still NAR. I keep saying we like I'm actually at heart a part of those guys. Anyways, NAR is still struggling with all of their drama of this year between the lawsuits, the ones that they're still under. Their head corporate legal person resigned this couple weeks ago. You know about the whole president thing and chasing their secretaries around the desk, so they had to replace her with a him or him with a her. And then she lasted like 2 weeks, and then she said, I'm out, because somebody apparently tried to blackmail her, or extort her or something or other. You know, NAR's a hot mess right now. All right. And this is just another thing that's going on. So what we do, as always, right? We just sit here and we just focus on what we can, you know, what we can deal with, right? Go read your Seneca, pay some more attention to Marcus Aurelius, put on Akira the Dawn and just listen to his Marcus Aurelius album. That always gets me going straight in the day, because you only concentrate on what you can immediately affect, right? This kind of stuff, when it happens, it happens. We'll deal with it when it comes down. It's not like we haven't been dealing with everything else that has been coming down for forever. And the reason why I got off on this little segue here is because I'm listening to hardcore history guy, Don Brown, late in the day, my brain turns off. You know, Dan Brown, hardcore history, all right, on Mike Rowe. I mean, talk about two great tastes that taste great together, right? And they're talking about history. And at one point, you know, Brown starts going off. Oh, Dan Brown. I think Dan Brown invented a gun. Anyways, Dan Carlin starts going off on the fact that, you know, not more than 1,000 years ago, the information that you had in your head was good for the entire life that you would live. You learned a skill set at 10, like how to push a plow, right? That skill set still worked when you were 55 and getting ready to die, all right? And then when you, at 55, taught that to a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old, they listened to you because that was valuable information. Now with the way technology is, we're constantly having to repeat ourselves. We're constantly having to reinvent ourselves. We're constantly having to learn new skill sets that are going to be completely worthless, possibly 5 years from now. Right? And not even that. I mean, hey, skill sets learning how to work Facebook advertising and a Facebook business page. And then they came up with Facebook Marketplace, right? At one point, you're just done trying to learn new things, right? But there are some things that are always going to be eternal, right? So we start looking at what those eternal skill sets are, right? Being able to talk to a human being is an eternal skill set. Yeah, maybe one of these days an AI will replace the ability for Ray to talk into a camera. All right, and guarantee you that has already happened, all right? All right, but Ray can't talk, all right, and AI cannot sit down in front of a table with you. Oh, see? Look at that. AI just heard me. Now they're trying to mess with my camera. All right, AI cannot sit down with you for an hour and a half at snooze AM, all right, off a Camelback, and answer your questions in a cheerful, charming, and hopefully entertaining manner, all right? You know what other things AIs can't do, all right? AI cannot read subtext and read your body language and realize when you're getting uncomfortable with something, right? That's what human-to-human interaction does, right? Other thing the AIs are really, really bad at is watching children and pets around water, okay? An AI has a pretty good chance of driving into a flooded roadway. I'm waiting for them to pull one of those things out, all right? AIs have no circles, so they don't know how to work their circles, all right? And AIs, no matter how many freaking chips you put in and how good your algorithm is, you know what the one thing an AI is never going to do? It's never going to have a good weekend. It's just going to have a weekend. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be bad. It's going to be AI, right? And that's why we're better. You guys have a great weekend.